Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Welcome to a very wet England. It's been raining a lot here. It's actually a nice break in the weather currently. But you know what, I don't mind this time of year. Autumn's quite pleasant, the temperatures are quite nice. And the colours are nice as well, aren't they? So yeah, not complaining. But yeah, I'm out and about today and I'm actually on a run, which is a real treat. So if you watched my last video, I talked about a new medication that I've started that's had some positive changes to my sort of physical state and as a result my mental state, because I can now come out and run and do a bit more exercise. But yeah, I started on a tablet called Creon, which are basically replacement pancreatic enzymes. So I've been taking those every time I eat some food, and that's just helping me digest my food and the fats in my diet, which has meant that when I go on a run, my stomach is kind of behaving itself 9 times out of 10 now, which is much better than previously, because running, which, you know, just a few years ago was very important to me, was spoiled really, because going running with a stomach that is very unpredictable just took all the fun away from it. But yeah, happy to say I've been running consistently for, well, about 4 or 5 weeks now. Not a huge amount, a couple of runs a week. Planning on being out for about an hour today. My body's not particularly loving it. I've got quite tight calves, so I managed to strain my calf a little bit during an overzealous attempt at a park run. But I'm not complaining. I'm expecting my body to moan and whine a little bit as I kind of get back into it. But yeah, just really pleased to be out here and exercising again, a little bit like my old self. Now, if you watched to the very end of my last video as well, I did put some text up about some MRI scan results and PET CT scan results that hadn't come through during the filming of that last video. But basically, to cut a long story short, those scan results basically showed that my tumours in my liver, which are very small, are still stable. So there's been no signs of growth still, and there's also been no spread of the disease. So the PET CT scan I had was looking for whether they'd spread anywhere else in my body, and thankfully they have not. So that was largely good news. I guess the best news I could have got was that those tumours had magically disappeared, but I think I'll be dreaming for that to happen. But yeah, all good news really. But I've actually had another scan since then, which has, yeah, been an interesting insight into perhaps something else that's going on in my body. And I'm going to tell you about that very shortly. I'm just going to knock off a few more miles and then we'll talk again. Okay, so the rain did indeed return, but I'm going to slow it down now and I get to walk up this hill, which is quite nice rather than having to slowly jog up it. But yeah, so I've had another scan. So the other scan that I've had, it is called a CCAT scan, which is a scan to detect whether I'm suffering from bile acid malabsorption, or BAM for short. So as far as I understand it, I'll try and explain kind of what bile acid malabsorption is and what it means for the body. But your body is producing bile acid, and in a normal person, that bile acid or the bile salts get reabsorbed into the system, usually at the end of the small intestine. Now, with people that have had some of their small intestine removed, like I have, so I've had a section towards the end of my small intestine removed, that reabsorption can be affected, and what that means is those bile salts then continue along the system and into the large colon, or into the large intestine. And bile salts in the large intestine can be an irritant effectively and cause an upset stomach. So for some time I had a feeling that my body was probably suffering from BAM, let's call it BAM, quite like that. And stupidly I didn't really reach out to anyone about that. Just, I suppose I was kind of hoping that my body was just taking time to readjust to its new environment and its new sort of structure. But after my chat with the dietitian and after them suggesting Creon, we also kind of decided that a bile acid malabsorption test, a CCAT scan, was worthwhile. So I went and did that, and what that meant was going into the hospital and I had to swallow a small pill, a nuclear pill, and the contents of that pill were effectively mimicking bile salts or bile acid. And so I swallowed that, went home, no real side effects from that, to be honest. It was a bit unnerving. I don't like all this nuclear rubbish in my body, but needs must. And then a week later I had to go back and get some scans of my actual abdomen to see if that nuclear material had been reabsorbed or not, and then it would give us an idea of whether I was absorbing bile salts. And interestingly, and perhaps not surprisingly, the result came back as I do have bile acid malabsorption. And you get given a figure. My figure was somewhere in the fours. I think it was 4.8. I think it's a percentage, 4.8%, and that's actually in the chart of things, that's classed as severe bile acid malabsorption, which explains a lot. It's actually a bit of a relief sometimes when you get an answer like that. Obviously, in an ideal world, I want my body to be working perfectly, but I knew something was off. It's been off for some time, so to know that, and now knowing that we can take action on it, it gives me a little bit of hope that, you know, my symptoms are going to get even better, and these runs and my exercising is going to get even more comfortable. And then, yeah, who knows in the future what I can achieve. But yeah, so I have bile acid malabsorption, so I'm getting started on another medication. It is what it is, another medication, a bit of a bore. It's called I can never remember the full name of it. Cholestyramine. Put up on the screen. I think that's what it's called. Cholestyramine. Cholestyramine. Let's go like that. Which basically is supposed to bind to those bile salts in such a way that then they can pass through my system, not irritating my digestive system. So I'm very willing to give that a go and just see how it goes. So I haven't picked that medication up. I'm off to pick that up this afternoon, and we'll get started on that as soon as possible and see what happens. I've heard it's rather disgusting. You have to drink it. Heard it tastes horrible. I'm sure some of you in the comments have probably got some experience with that medication, but I'll just grin and bear it and hope that I get some positive outcomes from it. So yeah, that's my news. Another scan result, and perhaps another step closer to a higher quality of life that I can possibly get to. And you know, I'm very privileged to be out on this run, as I've said, and I want to do more of this. I want to challenge myself. I want to go on adventures, so I don't want that to stop, and hopefully I can be perhaps just a source of hope for those people going through something difficult with their health, and you know, give them some hope that it doesn't mean the adventures have to stop. It just sometimes can take time. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll keep you up to date with how that new medication goes, and I'll see you all again soon.